Hello!
And welcome
To Nightmare Nation!
A podcast where two best friends talk about scary things. I don't know why my brain just died.
Things.
I went blank for a second there. What do we talk about on this podcast again?
What? Nightmare Nation.
I don't remember.
I don't know. Anything and everything we want to.
I mean, the name is vague enough that it leaves it open to a lot of different directions we could go.
Exactly.
We could be a podcast that talks about legitimate nightmares and, like, sleep psychology.
I mean, we kind of do with mine.
That's true.
Because I sleep weird.
Yeah.
Last night, I literally thought someone was watching us through our smoke detector. I woke up and I stared at the smoke detector.
Was it because the red light or something?
And yes, all of a sudden there was a red light. I was like, oh my God. And it would only blink at certain times because then we have a green light. I was like, oh my God, someone's up in our smoke detector and they're watching us. Someone put a camera up there.
The aliens bugged your smoke detector.
Someone bugged us.
Yep.
And then I went back to bed. But I just wake up just terrified that...
Just have crazy thoughts for like a minute and then you go back to sleep?
Yep.
That's upsetting.
It's what it is, I guess, now.
It's what it is. So I guess we sort of talk about the science of sleep a little bit. In a very uneducated way.
Yes.
Making lots of guesses. Mm-hmm. Educated guesses.
Just my brain making weird things.
My brain doing stuff.
Oh. But I don't want it to. I don't have any control because it controls me, so...
Your mind is being controlled by the demons that live in the Antarctic.
Probably.
You realize that's why you're having these dreams,
and I've got little things in my head. Little monsters.
Oh.
Like in that little kid movie. What's it called?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Someone help us.
Help.
I don't remember.
Help.
It's like in something, in and out, but that's not right. It's a little kid movie. And
Inside Out.
Yeah, thank you.
It was like In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, no, not
Inside
a burger.
Out. Okay, I thought you meant
people controlling my brain.
I see. Mm-hmm. I thought you were referring to some like scary kids movie.
Oh no.
From like a long time ago when we were growing up. I was like,
no.
I don't know what you're talking about. Little people in your brain?
What?
I'm Annie.
Hey, I'm Anna.
And what we actually talk about on this podcast is haunted places and scary things around the world.
And demonic entities. And possessions.
Yep.
And Ouija boards.
Mm-hmm.
And and UFOs occasionally.
Yes.
As well.
Yep. We've started expanding and dabbling in other topics.
Dabbling in topics.
So if you have suggestions for topics, make sure to let us know.
NightmareNation19@gmail.com. You'll hear that again at the end of the episode.
Yes, you will. That's kind of our thing. So it's exciting because we're finally at 30 episodes, which feels like a big milestone for some reason. I don't know why, but
it's just dirty 30, but for podcast.
Yes.
Not birthday.
No, not birthday. So where are we talking? Where
are we talking tonight?
Let's see. We're talking in my house.
In Annie's house in a bedroom.
Where are we talking about tonight?
Ooh, I suppose you guys want to know that, huh?
I suppose you do.
Suppose so.
Or we could just keep the whole thing a secret, and at the end we have to guess where we're talking about, and you tell us what it is.
Oh my gosh, we should totally do that for an episode.
And then you win a prize if you get it right.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Surprise podcasting.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
We're going to make it a thing.
It's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's coming. But tonight's episode, we are taking you back to California.
Our favorite place.
Because why not? Everything is frickin' haunted there.
Seriously, I feel like our first 9 episodes were basically all in the state of California.
That's basically where everything haunted is.
Yes.
Basically where everybody lives and aspires to live.
Yeah.
Stupid.
That in Savannah, Georgia.
Yes.
Our favorite city.
Georgia.
Our favorite city in the whole world.
The best place.
Yep.
But anyways, we are taking you to Alcatraz.
Which I've never been to, and I'm so mad because when I went to San Francisco, we were like, oh my God, I totally forgot Alcatraz was here. We need to go see it, and you have to buy your tickets super far in advance. They were completely sold out.
So dumb.
I was so mad.
God.
So instead, we took a boat ride around the bay, which was cool.
So you practically were there almost?
I saw it from the outside,
yeah,
which doesn't really count. It sort of counts.
Sort of counts.
I've been in the vicinity of Alcatraz.
Yes.
And I looked at it from shore.
There you go.
So
that's fine.
Yeah.
So I love Alcatraz. I think it's a pretty cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
Would like to go there someday.
Definitely.
There's a lot of freaking history to it, and so much information.
And there's so many freaking hauntings. It's unbelievable.
So exciting.
I had to trim down my list because I was like, this is too much. There's too many. I need to.
I mean, that's a good problem to have, though.
Right. As opposed to not being able to find anything specific at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some other places.
Right.
So.
Yes.
All right, Alcatraz. if you don't know, is located in San Francisco Bay, offshore from San Francisco, California.
Why was that a song? I don't know. It
Because
just
we
was.
just make everything into songs.
Yes, we do.
So, dating all the way back to 1775, Juan Manuel de Ayala. He was the first Spaniard documented on the island and named one of the 3 islands La Isla de los Alcatrazes.
Oh. Okay.
Which translates to the island of the gannets.
What the hell is a gannet?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up right now.
She's going to look up what a gannet is.
I'm looking it up.
But people liked, throughout the years, they liked the Alcatrazes and then translated it into Alcatraz, and that's how it got its name.
Fascinating.
Oh, that's right. They're birds.
Mm-hmm.
I think I remember reading that they like flock there or something.
Oh,
there was like a lot of them. He said that there was a flock and there were so many of them that they flew away and it sounded like a hurricane.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. When you have like thousands of birds like all flying at the same time, and it's insanely loud.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a gannet informally in British culture is a greedy person.
Oh,
just as a fun fact. You gannet, quit being a gannet.
Yes. See, you guys learn something new
I learn something new every episode.
Yeah.
Like, not even anything I researched, just something we randomly stumble upon while we're talking.
It's pretty sweet.
It's great.
So, the earliest recorded owner of the island was Julian Workman in 1846, and and the island was given by Governor Pio Pico with the understanding that Workman was going to build a lighthouse on the island.
His name was Pio Pico?
Correct.
That is the coolest effing name I've ever heard in my whole life. Oh my god! They just like omitted one letter from his first name, and then it was almost the same as his last name.
They just couldn't think of a name for him.
Yeah.
So,
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So then, in 1850, President Millard Fillmore ordered that Alcatraz Island be set aside for U.S. military reservation for military purposes, based upon the U.S. acquisition of California from Mexico following the Mexican-American War. In 1853, under direction of Zealous B. Tower, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began fortifying the island, and work continued until 1858. So then in 1862, there was a lot of like back and forth between this island and owners and what actually happened and what was built on it. And it like, I could probably go on for about 2 hours of who took what, where, and when.
But that sounds really boring. We'll just skip that bit.
I tried to condense it as much as possible.
Okay.
To include all the fun little tidbits.
Give us a highlight reel.
Yes. So then in 1862, when the American Civil War broke out, the island mounted 85 cannons around the perimeter.
What?
And also served as San Francisco's arsenal for storage of firearms to prevent them from being taken by Confederate sympathizers.
Here it is. Was like California even involved in the Civil War? Like I don't really like. I should probably know that, but I feel like that's like way on the opposite side of the country from where any of the actual things happened. Like, why did they feel the need to arm their island with cannons? Like, I don't.
In case people were gonna come after them.
Maybe
people were having riots in California because of what was happening across the other side of the world.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. I just was like picturing this little like army of Confederate soldiers marching all the way from Georgia to like freaking California. I'm like,
we're coming for your island
in 6 months. Get ready.
Beware. Stock up your arsenal. So then during the war, it was also used for imprisoning Confederate sympathizers and privateers on the West Coast, but guns were never fired at the enemy. And then as early as 1859, Alcatraz was used to house soldiers who were guilty of crimes. By 1861, it was a military prison for the Department of the Pacific and housed Civil War prisoners of war, and later would house citizens accused of treason. But then, in 1946, the facility was discontinued for prisoners of war.
Oh. Oh, but it still was a jail.
Correct.
Okay, just for the prisoners of war. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a little time gap in between there. There's, like I said, it went back and forth, and so many people took it, government took it, these people took it, and then this and that, and it just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then, in 1909 was when construction began on the concrete main cell block, and it was completed in 1912. Then the Citadel, which was a 3-story barrack that was on the island, they were demolished down to the first floor, which was underground and gave rise to the legend of dungeons below the main cell block.
Oh my god, I want to see the secret dungeon below the prison that already functions like a dungeon.
Yes.
That would be so cool.
Dungeons upon dungeons upon dungeons.
Layers of dungeons.
All of the dungeons.
Like a layer cake.
Yes.
Of dungeons.
So it's hard and crusty. So the cell house included 4 main cell blocks, A through D, the warden's office, visitation room, a library, and a barber shop.
A barber shop?
Yeah,
cool.
they have to get their haircuts, okay?
I guess that
very
makes sense.
important.
Like, not everyone in prison has just, like, long flowing locks of hair. I suppose they get the haircut, and that makes sense.
They gotta be presentable.
Uh-huh.
So then the prison cells measured 9 by 5 feet, and they were 7 feet tall, and were built so that no cell was on the outside, like the outside walls. They were all on the inside.
So no one ever had any, like, view of the water, or, like...
No.
Probably not a lot of natural light.
No.
7 feet?
7 feet.
Oh my god, like, Anders would barely be able to stand up in that room.
Yep.
That'd be so suffocating. Oh my god, I would have
Just
such bad
concrete
claustrophobia.
walls around you.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Yep. So the cells lacked privacy. They had a bed, desk, and a wash basin with a toilet on the back wall and very few furnishings, but they did get a blanket.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So, you know, that concrete gets cold
Of
at
course.
night, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And then African Americans were segregated from other inmates in cell designation due to racial abuse.
of course.
So then D block housed the worst inmates. Then the 6 cells at the very end of D block were designated as the hole, where badly behaved prisoners would be sent for periods of brutal punishment.
Eastern State Pen had a hole, too.
Yeah.
No, what did they call it? The pit? Or was it the hole? I
think
can't
it was the
remember.
Pit.
Yeah, they had something similar where they would, like, stick the misbehaving people in there for, like, long periods of isolation.
And dark and
just
cold and dingy and
like a hole.
sad.
Exactly like a hole or a pit.
Yep.
Which is why that's what they're called.
That's so sad.
I know, it sucks.
So A block was never modernized, and it retained its flat strap iron bars. So essentially just think of an old school prison where you just had the iron bars.
Yep.
Nothing super fancy.
Mm-hmm.
No inmates were permanently held there during the years of Alcatraz, and several inmates were held briefly in A block before a hearing or transferred. So it was essentially just used for storage, nothing super crazy.
Mm-hmm.
B block was mostly used for new inmates at Alcatraz. They were in quarantine status for 90 days. Quarantine status for the first 3 months. They were in Alcatraz, and they weren't permitted to have any visitors for a minimum of 90 days. And they only were permitted 1 visitor a month.
Sounds like they're trying to stop the coronavirus.
You need to hide all the
quarantine for 3
stupid
months
people.
and restrict social
Yes.
visits. Yeah.
That's perfect. Send them all to Alcatraz.
Guys, we have so much to learn from Alcatraz's methods.
Yes.
Let's apply them to
Just
our
follow
daily
it.
lives.
Let's see. And I guess C block just isn't a thing.
It is a thing. There's a C block.
C block. But they don't talk about C block. So there was a C block, but we don't know what happened in C block.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
That's the part where you guys fill in the blanks.
Tell us what happened in C
That's the
block.
surprise part of the podcast. You have to give us
Mystery
the
block.
information. Guys, this is a two-way street. This is
Yes.
a mutual relationship, and if you're never going to contribute, we can't keep podcasting for you.
Exactly.
So
We can't just keep giving you all the information, okay?
We can only take so much before we just get emotionally exhausted. So please tell us what happened in Cell Block C.
Please do it, because we need to know.
Yeah.
So the dining hall and kitchen extended from the main building, and that's where prisoners and staff ate 3 times a day. So you got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's it.
Shit, it's like a 5-star hotel.
Right?
That's fancy.
So fancy. The hospital was above the dining hall, and the corridors were named after major U.S. streets, such as Broadway and Michigan Avenue.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, I found one of my hauntings said something about like in the Michigan Avenue area, and I was like, what are you talking about?
This
like,
doesn't make any sense.
I'm assuming this is all in the prison still, but what the hell is Michigan Avenue? Like, I don't think they have any roads on the island. Okay, that makes so much more sense.
There you go. It's all coming together.
Yes.
So obviously, as you know, the island became a federal prison in 1934, and 137 prisoners arrived that first day. Most of the prisoners were notorious bank robbers and murderers. So initially, the prison had staffed around 155 people, and they were trained in, like, heavily in security, but not rehabilitation. Which I find it slightly ironic that they were trained highly in security when they had, I'll talk about this, over 34 attempted escapes.
Wow. So you guys suck is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
But also, you're on an island. Like, what are these people? I mean, I suppose you could swim to the bay. I don't think it's that far, but it's not like a quick little swim.
No, it's about a mile and a half.
That's a long swim.
In really cold water.
Yep.
And bad tides.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a big bay, too, so I'm sure the tides would be difficult at times.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, obviously, their security sucked.
We just tell it like it is, okay? We don't sugarcoat anything on this podcast.
God. So during years of operation, it held some of the most notorious criminals, including, of course, Al Capone, Robert Franklin Stroud, George Machine Gun Kelly, Bumpy Johnson.
Oh, what? Bumpy Johnson?
Bumpy Johnson.
That's his, like, gangster criminal name? Bumpy Johnson. Like,
that's what I'm going to name my child when we have a child.
Bumpy.
Bumpy, come here.
Hey, Bumpy.
Hey, Bump.
A name truly designed to spark fear into a nation.
Yes.
Yes. The stuff of nightmares.
As well as Raphael Cancel Miranda, Mickey Cohen, Arthur R. Barkers. Ooh, that's a lot of R's in one.
Yes, it is.
Ooh, I don't like that. And Alvin Creepy Carpus. He is the one who spent the most time in Alcatraz over any other inmate.
He must have been really creepy to have that be his freaking nickname that goes in between his first and last name. Alvin Creepy Carpus.
Yep. So some of the inmates had the privilege to work and be employed in the Model in Industries building and the New Industries building. And they were involved in providing for the military in jobs such as sewing and woodwork, while also performing various maintenance and laundry chores.
Laundry chores? The privilege to work.
Yes.
So basically something to do to keep them from going insane.
Correct.
Whereas everyone else just had to sit there and do nothing.
Yes.
Got it.
The inmates were given rules and regulation packet upon entry, and it outlined what they could and could not do, as they were very strict on their daily regimens. So inmates were entitled to food, clothing, shelter, and medical attention, but anything else outside of that was considered a privilege. So while I was reading, it said that smoking was considered a privilege and they could only do it at certain times. The same goes for working, is that you essentially needed to be a good inmate to be able to work.
Got it.
And so you were only essentially entitled to those things, and everything else is just like, okay, well, you better be a good model, otherwise you're just
model
gonna get
prisoner.
Yep. So the inmates were given blue shirt, gray pants, cotton long underwear, socks, and a blue handkerchief, and hats were forbidden.
I'm sure because you could like hide a shank under your
hat. You could hide anything under your hat.
You could hide a lot of things under your hat. Dangerous things.
Yep. So cells were expected to be kept neat and orderly, and if any contraband was found in their cells, it could be cause for disciplinary action. Toilet paper, matches, soap, and cleanser were issued to the cells on Tuesday and Thursdays, and inmates could request hot water to clean their cells.
Oh.
I don't know why they need matches with soap and cleanser and toilet paper.
I wonder, did they like have candles? Like,
maybe.
I wonder if they didn't have electric lighting back in like 1912. Probably not.
That's a possibility.
Maybe. I don't know. So I'd guess the matches were for lighting candles.
Yeah.
But not sure what you do with the candlelight since you can't like read or like do anything.
Exactly.
So you're just gonna sit there.
So then in the beginning, when the prison opened, they had a strict code of silence where you literally could not talk.
Oh, cool.
Yep. But then in the 50s, it was loosened to where they were able to talk in the dining hall and cell house as long as there wasn't any shouting, screaming, or singing.
No singing.
And you had to keep it to a nice low tone. So inmates were woken up at 6:30. They had breakfast at 6:55. Then they were sent back to their cell to tidy up. At 7:30, work started for those who were privileged enough to work. Lunch was served at 11:20, followed by a 30-minute rest in their cell. Then those people would return to work and work until 4:15. Dinner was at 4:25. And the inmates were back locked in their cells at 4:50 and lights off at 9:30. Every day, all day, that same schedule.
That
I would go freaking bonkers.
Well, so you mentioned the numerous escape attempts. And
yes.
They mentioned that they're not trying to be a rehabilitation center. They were just trying to be a prison, right? The goal was not to rehabilitate people. But I feel like if you lock people in with no mental stimulation, nothing to do, they are not given any activities, your brain like goes crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
Would lose your shit.
I would.
You're literally encouraging people to try to escape by mentally torturing them, by not giving them anything to work on. Like let them at least go like exercise or something. Like you're gonna find yourself in a situation with more escape attempts and like violence in the jail and like cellmate stabbings and stuff because like you're not giving them anything constructive to do.
Exactly. If
you just gave them something to do, everyone would, I don't know, I guess I'm probably making things up, but you'd think maybe people would be a little bit less angsty, crazy.
Well, right.
Like,
I mean, I was going crazy the first 2 weeks of quarantine, not being by anybody, so...
And we were still, like, working and, like, doing home activities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine what they had to go through.
Yeah.
So during the 29 years of operation, the penitentiary claimed that no one ever escaped. Debatable. Probably.
It's a conspiracy.
Yes, everything is conspiracy. Probably because of the cold water and rough waves in the bay, and it made it difficult and almost impossible for the prisoners to escape. There were 36 prisoners that attempted to escape. There were 14 actual escape attempts. 2 men tried twice. 23 were caught alive. 6 were shot and killed. 2 drowned. And 5 were listed as missing and presumed drowned.
Presumed.
Mm-hmm.
You can't presume nothing.
No.
They're alive.
Probably are.
Yep.
The most violent one occurred May of 1946 when a failed attempt of 6 prisoners led to the Battle of Alcatraz. 2 prison officers, William Miller and Harold Dietz, Stiddies.
I bet it's Stiddies.
Got them Stiddies.
Ooh.
They were killed along with 3 of the other perpetrators. 14 others were injured, and later on, 2 of the surviving perpetrators were executed in 1948 for their roles in the battle.
Really?
Yep.
They just straight up executed them.
Yep.
Interesting. Firing squad, do you know?
I don't know. I didn't read that.
The battle. So they needed their mounted 80 cannons or whatever.
Yeah.
After all, at the Battle of Alcatraz.
For those inmates who were going crazy.
Yeah.
So one of the most famous and intricate escapes was done by Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin in June of 1962. They managed to escape their cells and got off the island in a makeshift raft. How they got the raft, how they escaped, I don't know.
I want to know the details. They probably bribed someone on the outside.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That would be the only way to get a raft, unless they were in some work program where they got access to build one.
Well, that was my thought. If they're working with, like, construction materials, like you said, if they're building things.
Yeah.
And then maybe they use their blankets to, like, tie them together or something. I don't know, but...
So then no one actually knows if they made it to shore safely or if they drowned in the water. They're part of the 5 that were presumed drowned. In 1979, the FBI finally closed the investigation and concluded that the men drowned in the bay, but the U.S. Marshal Services has continued to keep the escapees on its wanted list. Just in case they're still out there.
Just in case. That is so cool. I love, like, learning how people do, like, prison escapes and that sort of stuff. Like,
have you ever watched Prison Break?
No.
It's on Hulu. You should watch it.
Okay.
I'm literally watching it right now, and it's about this guy who tries to get his brother out of prison.
I want to say I've maybe seen, like, the first episode. It sounds familiar.
It's so good.
But, like, the whole... Have you seen I Love You, Philip Morris?
No.
Okay. How about Catch Me If You Can?
I think so.
They're essentially movies based on real-life people who are just, like, extremely talented con artists and manage to, like, fool everyone around them and, like, trick and, like, weasel their way into a bunch of money that they never earned. And, like, in I Love You, Philip Morris, he escapes from jail, like, I don't know, 7 times or something ridiculous.
Jeez.
And they're based on, like, real people. And the guy from I Love You, Philip Morris is now in 24-hour or 23-hour isolation, like, on constant monitoring, like, lockdown. Because the, like, state was so embarrassed by how many times he got out of jail that they're like,
well, yeah.
You're done.
Jesus.
And it's just so fascinating, like, how these people, like, do some of this stuff.
That's crazy.
I just find it fascinating.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So then, contrary to popular belief, it is possible to swim from the island to the shore, because in 1962, inmate John Paul Scott escaped and made it to shore, but was later found by the cops on the shore unconscious and hypothermic. So now people compete in the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon and swim the 1.5 miles to shore.
I love that so much. Can we train for a triathlon just to say we did the Escape from Alcatraz one? Okay.
That sounds perfect.
I'm not in shape at all, but I want to do that.
Yes.
That sounds so awesome.
That'd be pretty great.
That's so cool.
So Alcatraz eventually closed in 1963 due to the cost of keeping it open, saltwater saturation severely eroding the buildings, and, because 3 people escaped in 1962.
Oh, they're like,
probably figured
guys,
it's probably not as secure as they thought.
We can't do this anymore, guys. We were starting to look bad.
Yep.
Just shut her down.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So in November of 1969, the island was occupied for more than 19 months by a group of Native Americans from San Francisco, who were part of a wave of Native American activists across the U.S., and they did a lot of protests in the 70s.
Okay.
Then in 1972, Alcatraz became part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area and received designation as a National Historic Landmark in 1986. And today, the island is managed by the National Park Service and is currently open for tours. Landmarks on the island include the main cell house, dining hall, lighthouse, the ruins of the Warden House and Social Hall, parade grounds, Building 64, Water Tower, New Industries Building, Model Industries Building, and the Recreation Yard.
That's a lot of places.
All of the places you can see when you go to Alcatraz.
Cool. Which I still am bitter about that I wasn't able to do.
Well, we're going to go to San Francisco or California, so then we can just go to all of the haunted places at once.
Yep.
Tell me these stories.
So, guess what? It's known as
Chicken
the
butt.
most haunted... How'd you know?
I guess you weren't expecting that, huh?
Not really. But Alcatraz is known as the most haunted prison in the world.
Whoa, is it? With all of the other most haunted prisons in the world?
Haunted, most haunted.
Such haunted.
Ever.
Such haunt.
I would say some would probably argue that Eastern State Penn is probably the most haunted prison in the
Probably.
world. And I'm sure all the articles that we read for that one too said the same thing. I can't even remember.
Yep. All of
them.
But
it's famous for being haunted, and I found a lot of information on this one. So
Yay!
It's said that the empty cells there still house the spirits of the prisoners who never left.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
My source is Wikipedia.
Good call. My sources are Wikipedia, graylineofsanfrancisco.com, Flickr, and travelchannel.com.
Oh, perfect.
So, Native Americans apparently have been talking about evil spirits encountered on the island well before it ever became a federal prison. So before anything was built there, apparently the natives kind of knew that was a bad place, and they knew there was like bad spiritual energy or something like that. And archaeologists who have investigated the area have dug up bones and artifacts that suggest it may have been a burial ground burial ground. Why can I not
Burial!
say that freaking word? Burial.
Burial.
A burial ground of Native American societal outcasts.
Oh.
So people who were just like, I don't know if they were like mentally ill or like broke rules and were just basically cast out of society and stranded there, buried there. I don't know. Early explorers of the area also believed it to be haunted before San Francisco was even settled, and it developed a reputation as being a bad place. So it's interesting because you'd kind of think that all of the haunted stuff would be just due to the poor conditions in the jail and like possibly people who had died there.
Right.
But there's probably a compounding factor of it potentially being a burial ground.
That's really cool.
I didn't know that. Okay, so now I'm going to go through, this is a bunch of claims made by different prisoners and guards, so people that have, like, lived there. So, almost every guard and official who served there until it was shut down in the 60s has reported experience something out of the ordinary. So, the counts vary, but generally most people who have worked there have said they've seen something or experienced something paranormal. So, when it was in operation as a prison, inmates and guards reported a wide range of paranormal activity in the prison, including peculiar whispering sounds in the middle of the night, floating blue lights and figures, disembodied moaning, and the sound of chains clanking in cells that were not occupied by anybody. So,
see, like the only thing with the moaning and the whispers, I feel like that could also be inmates, just because you're in a concrete building with no insulation.
Yeah, sound travels.
You have people who are locked up for days upon days. They're probably in some sort of different mental state. And they could be talking in their sleep. They could be whispering to themselves. They could be doing something else, and sound travels. And might not be ghosts.
That's fair. I wonder if, and it didn't say like where people reported seeing this, so I wonder if it happened in like parts of the compound that were like very far away from prisoner cells.
Okay.
Or like places where you wouldn't expect to hear sounds from like people. But to your point, concrete, sound travels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Floating blue lights and figures?
Yeah, that one.
Less explainable.
Yeah.
So occupants of the prison have also reported seeing prisoners dressed in 19th century clothes walking down corridors in the A block who would then just disappear when they were approached by anybody.
Oh.
Disturbing. Several guards over the years have reported feeling cold spots, feeling fingers on the backs of their necks, hearing mysterious crying in the middle of the night, and seeing the ghosts of Native Americans who would be there one second and then mysteriously vanish the next. So there was one guy.
Makes sense then.
Yeah, there was one guy that said he saw like a group of them like walking together, and I think they said they were like doing some like ritual or chant or something, and then they all just like vanished.
That's so weird.
Very creepy.
What?
Can you imagine seeing that? And then they all just like poof.
They're just gone.
Gone.
That's really strange.
It's very strange.
Oh.
People have reported hearing phantom gunfire and cannon blasts.
Ooh, because of all of the cannons they have around the outside. Yes.
Yeah, from the Civil War. So phantom cannon fire, which that's a pretty, I feel like, unmistakable sound, like the booming of a cannon.
Yes, that's very loud.
And to hear that and like be like,
what the fuck's going on?
I'm pretty sure they probably don't have cannons today, or if they do, they're not like in operation. So,
Exactly.
like, that would be kind of upsetting.
They shouldn't be shooting cannons unless it was the guard shooting escapees.
At the swimming people. Seems so extreme.
Right?
Oh my god. And then fire alarms would also go off by themselves. Which again, that could always just be technical malfunction. But so James A. Johnston, the first warden of Alcatraz, once heard a woman sobbing loudly while conducting a tour of the prison. So there shouldn't be women there.
No.
So former inmate Leon Whitey Thompson, who worked as a guide at Alcatraz for many years and later visited it regularly before his death in 2005, believed that Alcatraz Island is haunted and stated that he could feel it every time he was there and while he was incarcerated there. So during his time in the prison, Thompson was friendly with an inmate named Johnny House, a big Texan guy, apparently. He last saw Johnny in October of 1962 when he left Alcatraz. So then, fast forward to the 80s, Thompson was alone in the cell house waiting for visitors to arrive for a tour. He claimed to have seen a large, dark, looming figure at the end of the Michigan Avenue corridor.
Ooh. So
he saw the figure walk around the corner and, like, out of sight, and then he ran down to see who it was, and there was nobody there. And it's, like, not like they could have just ducked into another room. It was a spot where, like, there should have been a person, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
And he fully believed, I don't know what gave him this impression, but he fully believed that it was the ghost of his former friend, Johnny House.
Oh, weird.
And he said, by the way he walked, he could kind of tell and, like, just just the feeling that the figure gave off. Like, he, like, just had this very, like, clear moment of, like, I feel like it's him. I know it's him. I can just tell because it's giving me this weird feeling. So
strange. That'd be so weird.
Yep.
To have that and just like, oh yeah, I know who this is.
Yeah, he's my buddy
like,
from when we were in jail together. Like, cool.
I just sense his presence.
I can tell.
I just know. Ugh, weird.
All right, so some of the more specific locations and ghosts. So cell D14 is one of the most famously haunted places in the compound. So an inmate staying in cell D14 reported seeing glowing red eyes in the dark, and apparently just like screamed in the dark for hours and hours, and I don't know if like no one checked on him or what, but
that sounds like, didn't that happen was it Eastern State, where the ghost was attacking Al Capone?
Oh yeah, Al Capone, right? And but they actually came in and checked on him, and nothing was happening.
Yeah.
Huh. That's so cool. Al Capone was here and at Eastern State.
Yeah.
He's just bopping all
He's
over
just
the country.
everywhere.
Yeah. So he's like screaming after seeing glowing red eyes in the dark. And they just kind of like left him alone. I'm assuming they just thought he was being crazy. Mm-hmm. So the next day, they found him dead in his cell.
Oh, shit.
Looking as though he had been strangled, and his face was purple, his eyes were bulging out, and he had like marks on his neck.
What?
So people report that cell D14 is always icy cold, even in the middle of the summer, and is often 20 to 30 degrees colder than any other room in the building.
Oh, shit.
So they can like go around, measure everywhere else, and then they get there, and it's like 30 degrees colder.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. Could be due to like air drafts and location, but 30 degrees is kind of a stark temperature
big difference.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Damn.
The laundry room is another haunted place. So an inmate named A.B. Meldowitz, who was given the nickname the Butcher, was a hitman for the mafia, and he was actually assassinated in the laundry room during his stay at Alcatraz in the 1940s.
Oh, shit.
So his spirit was apparently super annoying because he was very active in the laundry room and would make a lot of noise and like banging sounds, and they got so, like the Park Service got so sick of it, they actually brought in a medium to try to communicate with him and convince him to leave the island, because they were like, shut
I'm done
up,
with your
dude.
shit, stop
Quit
banging
shit all the time, get off the island.
He's just so pissed.
She apparently tried to like convince him that there were people like on the other side that could help him, and it would be like in his benefit to like pass on to the next life, the afterlife, because they're like,
just get
out of the
out
laundry
of prison.
room. I just want to wash my sheets without freaking banging sounds. I thought that was hilarious.
That's really funny.
That's
the kind of ghost that I would be.
Yes, you'd be
just
this
go around
shithead. Just piss people off.
Fuck you guys.
Fuck you.
Assholes. I'm gonna make
Keep you up
all
all
the
night.
noise.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like the cat that won't rest.
Yeah, or just like the movie Ghost, where he actually does that. Have you seen that movie with Patrick Swayze?
I've seen bits and pieces.
There's a part where he's trying to convince Whoopi Goldberg's character to like help him, and she like is not willing to help him, and so he just like sits in her bedroom and sings like stupid like songs all night long until she finally agrees to do it.
Oh, that's exactly what I would do.
Yes, he just sits there and like basically irritates the shit out of her until she's willing to help him. It's funny.
That's so fantastic.
That would be you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the 3 inmates that you mentioned that were shot and killed during the Battle of Alcatraz, so they were killed in the utility corridor, and guards often report hearing strange sounds coming from that area that, you know, can't identify the source of it, just strange sounds. I didn't have much details on that one, but a lot of the guards reported hearing things in the utility corridor. So cell blocks A, B, and C are the like most, well, aside from cell D14, are also famously haunted. So many people who tour the prison say they hear crying and moaning coming from these cell blocks in particular. So blocks A and B are known for the sounds of unexplained footsteps, clanging sounds, and screams.
Oh, good.
And the ghost of the butcher is also reported to haunt Block C. So apparently their attempt to convince him to leave was unsuccessful.
He just moved to a different block.
He was like, I'm not interested in leaving.
I just
want
to stay here.
So he hangs out in Block C as well. So many people there report doors swinging open and shut on their own in cell Block C.
Oh, damn.
Most paranormal investigators consider the D block to be the most haunted of the 4, with 4 of its 42 cells being haunted, specifically. Unexplained voices have been heard and captured in cells 11, 12, and 13, and then 14 is the one that where the guy died. So the warden's house is also reported to be haunted, so basically every square inch of this freaking place. So back when the prison was still in operation, there was a bunch of guards, I guess, having like a party in the warden's house, or like a social gathering of some sort, and a bunch of guards reported seeing like this kind of spectral like apparition of a man with mutton chop sideburns wearing a gray suit and brimmed cap, And the specter, like, showed up, and everyone was like, what the hell is
Who
this?
are you?
He disappeared, and the room got icy cold, and the fire that they had lit in the stove extinguished.
What?
By itself.
Oh,
He
shit.
freaking blew out the stove with his ghostly
That's
presence.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, and that was a report, it was like an account from multiple people, because they were all there, like, in the same room. Like, all the guards saw it, and they were like, what the hell just happened? Like,
oh, shit.
So Al Capone apparently haunts Alcatraz.
God damn it, Al Capone.
But
get out of these places.
He haunts it by playing a banjo in the shower.
You go, Al Capone. You play that banjo.
What a cheerful thing to do. So apparently,
I'm gonna shower and hear a banjo playing by Al
banjo
Capone.
shower ghost. So
that's so great.
So apparently, he spent most of his free time there playing a banjo in the shower room for whatever reason. I don't know if it had good acoustics or.
I mean, probably.
I mean, I guess so. So many visitors report hearing the eerily upbeat sound of a banjo being played
so eerie
from that same area. Imagine like going through the entire building is silent, and then you hear like coming from the shower room and be like, what the fuck?
That'd be awesome.
Oh my god.
I want to go there just to hear Al Capone. Al Capone playing the banjo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, words are hard.
Words are so hard.
Shit.
Okay, so some of the other famous prisoners, you mentioned a few of these. So George Machine Gun Kelly, who was an American gangster from Tennessee, who liked using machine guns.
Gangsta.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So he's been reported being seen in the prison's church. Alvin Creepy Carpus, my favorite guy in the whole world, is a gangster from Canada who is reported to haunt the bakery and the kitchen.
Was he a fat one?
Possibly.
Liked all them baked
Maybe that's
goods.
why he was creepy. He's just like this super roly-poly guy.
Just like creep around the corner. What you got bacon in there today?
Do you have sweet rolls? I really like sweet rolls. Do you have any bread?
Yeah,
I like it just like carbs. One visitor and his wife claimed to have heard. Okay, so Robert Stroud, you mentioned, as being one of the famous prisoners too. So his nickname was the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Oh.
So he was a murderer and is considered to be one of the worst criminals in American history. And he spent time at a different penitentiary. I forget the name. But while he was there, he raised and sold birds.
What?
I don't know why they
Just
gave him access to birds in your prison cell.
What?
But then apparently he became to be a respected ornithologist. I'm like, who that? What? This is
That's
how
so
is this real
weird.
life? I don't understand. So you're this creepy murderer guy who raises birds and people respect you as an ornithologist. I'm having such a hard time wrapping my brain around those two things.
That just doesn't make any sense.
So then he moved to Alcatraz, and he had a reputation for liking birds, but they didn't allow him to have birds.
Assholes.
They were like, nope, you don't get birds here. We do things differently. So a visitor and his wife claimed to have heard the sound of singing canaries from the cell that belonged to Robert Stroud.
Oh, the little canaries are falling down. That's so cute.
And I was kind of wondering, would it just be possible that a bird got into the building somehow? But there was this whole section on Wikipedia about all the people who work there now who are like, yeah, it's not haunted. There's none. They're like, we don't even have canaries here, so how could they have heard canaries? I'm like, first of all, how do you know they were canaries?
Right.
You're telling me you know exactly what a canary sounds like?
Exactly.
No, I don't know.
Lies.
But yeah, so they heard birds singing from his cell. There it is. And the same visitor and his wife also reported seeing the ghost of Robert Stroud on his bed in the same cell, reading a book.
Oh.
Just chilling in the
hanging
afterlife
out
with his birds and books.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, except for he's a horrible murderer.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so there's been a bunch of different paranormal investigations that have gone there. So they don't do ghost tours or anything because they actually don't like the idea that it's haunted and they think it's going to scare away visitors. I'm like, do you know how many people are going to come
visitors?
Here? Right, because it's haunted.
Exactly.
You should advertise the shit out of that.
Yeah.
But so they don't offer ghost tours, but they offer if you want to do your own individual paranormal investigation, you can request that.
Let's do it.
So I'm sure you have to be part of a TV show. I don't think you can just do your own thing.
Just do it.
But so a bunch of different investigators, psychics, and TV show crews have tried contacting the spirits at Alcatraz, and it's been featured on Ghost Lab, Ghost Adventures, The Dead Files, and then a show from the 90s called Sightings. So KGO radio morning news anchor Ted Wygant. Wygant.
Wygant.
I'm gonna go with Wygant because Wygant sounds really.
Wygant.
It's just so aggressive. So Ted Wygant visited Alcatraz in 1982 with a psychic and spent the night there. So he said that for most of the duration of their visit, they didn't really experience anything, but around 3 a.m. in the utility corridor, which is where those 3 inmates were killed, they suddenly, Wygant suddenly got a tremendous feeling of anger that rushed over him, and he couldn't really explain the source of that because he had no reason to be angry.
Yeah.
And he said he felt an evil presence lying on the floor at the place where the men had died.
Oh, damn.
So he started swearing loudly and being super upset. And he said that he felt a strong compulsion to fire a gun at someone.
Jesus.
Which is terrifying.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So the psychic that was with him said that he was totally out of character. And then when they finally turned on the lights, she said that his face was changed and you could just see how much rage was in his eyes.
That'd be
nowhere.
So terrifying.
I'd be so scared if I were the psychic.
I'd fucking run.
You suddenly want to shoot people, you say?
Oh, right? No, thank you.
I
don't want to die tonight.
I'm gonna pass on the gun shooting bit. So he just had this weird moment where he was overcome with violent rage for no reason.
Good.
So one woman who claimed to be a psychic apparently started speaking German in a child's voice while on a tour of the prison hospital. I don't believe she knew German. She just started speaking this foreign language in a voice that was more childish than her own, I guess.
That's really strange.
It's very odd. She's probably possessed by Hitler.
Probably.
We know he likes to possess people.
Yeah, he does.
All right, and then the last one I have is psychic Dana Smoller and psychologist Larry Montz investigated the prison and found nothing in the D block or the cell house while they were there, but they suddenly picked up a reading on their magnetometer in the new industries building area where inmates were sewing and doing the stuff you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So the magnetometer is just a little measure thing that detects magnetic fields or magnetic energy, and they said that they picked up on the intense sound of buzzing sewing machines. They heard the sound as though a bunch of sewing machines were going all at once, and then the magnetometer went off, and then she suddenly felt an intense stabbing pain in her neck, really intense pain coming from her neck, which didn't seem to have any sort of reasonable origin. So
yeah.
Nothing happens, and the magnetometer thing goes off, and then her neck hurts. So that occurred in an area where a convicted bank robber named Henry Young had killed another prisoner named Rufus McCain by stabbing him in the neck.
No!
Which Smoller, the psychic, did not know prior to visiting.
Oh, shit.
So they're in there, and they hear all these sewing machines, and she feels this sharp pain in her neck, and then they find out afterwards that a prisoner had been stabbed to death in the neck there.
That's crazy.
Which is so crazy.
That's so cool. Well, not cool that the prisoner got stabbed in the neck.
No, it's unfortunate for the prisoner, but it's one of those crazy, how would that be the thing?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I forgot about this one. So this one's not an investigation, but there was a British tourist who caught a picture on her phone of what looks like a shadowy girl through a window, and it's not a reflection of her because she's apparently was wearing totally different clothes, and this girl looks like she's from the 1930s, and there's two back-to-back images that are almost identical where she's in one and then not the next.
That's weird.
I will show you.
Ooh, I'll post it. The fuck?
Very clearly.
Holy shit.
A woman, shadowy figure in a window.
And is that window out to the outside?
I don't know. The article didn't really say much, and it's it's so obscured. I can't really tell.
That's crazy.
It looks like it's a window into another hallway, maybe.
It's that's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. That's really neat.
Yeah,
that's real good.
Creepy. It's a good one. Yeah. So many hauntings.
All of the hauntings. Now everybody needs to go to Alcatraz.
Yes.
And check it out and tell us your haunted stories.
California road trip. Let's go.
All of us, let's go. Pack your bags. Mm-hmm. We're going.
If you've been to Alcatraz and have taken the tour, let us know what you thought of the building.
Yeah, tell us your story.
Tell us.
That'd be cool.
Send her in to, as promised,
nightmarenation19@gmail.com.
Or check us out on the Facebook at nightmare_nation19.
Or check us out on the Instagram, nightmare.nation19.
Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, give us a suggestion if you have a place you'd like to hear us cover, or something like a story you just find fascinating. We love getting suggestions from you guys, our listeners, so we can talk about the things that you want to hear about.
Exactly. let us know.
We also want your stories. If something
us.
unexplained or paranormal or scary has ever happened to you, I want to hear your personal first-hand account of what happened.
Yes, we love them.
And we want to talk about it on the podcast. So, send them in.
Send them in, people.
Send them in so Anna doesn't get mad like she did 15
so
episodes
mad.
ago. She gets so
I'm
mad.
still so mad.
I know you are.
Send us in your damn stories, people.
Are you feeling an overwhelming sense of unexplainable rage?
Yes.
Are you going to shoot a gun at me?
Yes.
Oh, no.
No,
Please,
I'm not.
guys, I don't want Anna to kill me. Please send in your
Please
stories.
send in your stories.
Help.
Help,
I'm
please.
being held against my will. I've been doing this whole
PSA,
podcast.
she's not.
I've been doing this whole podcast at gunpoint, you guys.
I'm under duress. Help me, please. Help.
All right.
Don't use a Ouija board, people.
Stay safe. Don't use a Ouija board.
Don't do satanic rituals.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be stupid.
Don't get possessed by Hitler.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
He's not even worth it.
No, he's such a loser.
Such a loser.
Until next time.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Bye.